A lot of wealthy families that I've spoken to said the biggest challenge that they have with their children is getting them to actually appreciate the wealth.
Yes, of course. In my opinion, it's fundamental that when you're passing down the wealth, you're not just passing down the financial wealth to the next generation. It's absolutely paramount that you pass down the human intellectual capital to the next generation. What do you mean by human intellectual capital? I'm talking about the story and the history, the experience and expertise behind the wealth. How was the wealth generated? How did the family business become what it is today? Who started it? Who created it? What were the struggles in creating that, that successful business, in creating the wealth that currently exists for the family? It's vital that that is educated, that is taught to the next generation, because if they're not told or they're not explained, they're not educated in the manner of where this wealth came from, then how on earth can you possibly expect them to appreciate the wealth? The successful families out there in the world that we see today, so we're talking about the Mars family, the Waltons, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, they pass down the human intellectual capital. That's why they are so successful today. That's why the wealth still exists over multiple generations. It's not just about enabling the financial wealth to be passed down in a tax efficient and in a very efficient legal manner, which is great. That is important, but it's only one aspect of what you need to be passing down to the next generation. It's like having a one-legged stool as opposed to a three-legged stool, which is a lot more stable and secure. You can sit down and it doesn't fall over. So you want to appreciate the wealth, you want your next generation to appreciate, you've got to educate them. And a part of that education process is having a sustainable philanthropic arm to the family. Again, I discussed this in my book, and it's mentioned in also my website, valuingprosperity.com, where we help families to set up a sustainable philanthropic arm, because it basically creates a purpose greater than the individual needs of each family member. And part of having that, part of dealing with philanthropy and having a sustainable philanthropic arm is creating projects that inspire the next generation. So they themselves want to take it on themselves to ensure that the wealth is, succeeds and lasts for multiple generations, because now they're dealing with projects outside of their own personal interests. They need to ensure that the wealth is still there, so they can support their philanthropic charities, whatever they may be, whether it's dealing with child poverty, whether it's dealing with education, whether it's dealing with health, whether it's dealing with things like famine, water. There's so many charitable events out there, but it's important to have that as part of the arm of the family.
Yeah, because you point out that a lot of children who grow up in wealthy families don't have any references for real poverty or hardship, do they? So obviously sharing the hardships of previous generations in the family, and then obviously, as you're alluding to here, giving them experiences of people who are actually in hardship right now.
Yes, no, of course. There's no point, covering your children in bubble wrap. You need to give them those experiences, those lifetime experiences, and show them this is what the world is. This is the reality of the world where we are today. Not everyone comes from a wealthy family. Not everyone is born into wealth. Again, so it's all about educating, and providing those relevant lifetime experiences to your family members. Take them out and get them to see and experience what it's like to live, in a homeless shelter, what it's like to deal with, with having, in an orphanage, for example, what it's like to deal with complete famine, famine and poverty. Take them to families who have to, walk 10, 20 miles in order to get water for the family. What is that like? How can you survive in such circumstances? That gives them that'll provide them that appreciation for where they are today, because they don't have to do that. But if they don't see it, if they don't experience it themselves, then don't expect them to appreciate the wealth, because it's something that you have to learn, like anything in life.